so much for coming on and doing this. It's been a long time coming, you know?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this. I've never done anything like this before, so I've been like trying to figure out like the camera angle and all of that. But I'm like sitting on my floor with the computer on my couch, so that's the best I
Well,
can do.
it's perfect. And welcome to On the Road to Rock. Sarah Smith, you've become just this almost kind of a mythical person in the 80s rock world. You are real, you are here, and we can prove that now. You're just sort of this person that everyone's like, God, this Sarah, she's at all these shows. She knows all these cool rockers. She's into the right music, but you're only like, what, 30 years old?
A little older, but yeah, close
Okay,
enough.
we'll go with that.
We'll just say that, yeah.
So I'm 40. I just turned 40 in February, and I'm not flattered to say that. It doesn't feel good to say it, and I'm not saying it's definitely not the pinnacle of where you want to be. You want to stay closer to where you are. But for you, and I mean, I'm kind of young to be immersed in this 80s rock world. But for you, where does this come from? Where does this passion come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like at this point in my life, it has been a part of my life for so long. And you're so right that, like, you know, kind of our generations, it is unusual for us to like this music, you know, because I feel like almost now for younger people, it makes more sense when I see them into this because of all like the social media and internet and, you know, Netflix's Motley Crue movie or whatever. But I feel like, you know, in the 2000s, it really was not so much a thing. But I just always was into rock music. And, you know, growing up, like, obviously, like, a lot of the big stuff happening when I was in middle school and high school was, like, a lot of the pop punk and emo bands. And so that was kind of, like, I guess my entry into rock. But I never, like, connected so much with them. Like, I liked it, but what I really connected with was that, you know, 80s glam metal sound. And I feel like I must have just I feel like it just slowly became part of my life. Like, you know, hearing stuff on the radio by like Guns N' Roses or Def Leppard, and then realizing I really like that sound a lot. So seeking it out more. I used to always watch the Metal Mania music video block on VH1 Classic. And it was always on at like 3 a.m. So I had to like DVR it and watch it the next day after school. But yeah, so just sort of slowly became more and more my thing. And I just really connected to the sound and the vibe of it all. I always like one of my favorite things about that music is like how positive and uplifting it is.
Yeah, there's a reason why 4 out of the 5 of the big 5 grunge singers are no longer with us. I mean, that music, I'm sorry, like, hey, they always say there's a reason the Beach Boys sound the way they do, and there's a reason Black Sabbath sounds the way they do. There's a lot of, it's kind of like, you know, where you're from, what the scene's like. I mean, the LA scene in the 80s was so bombastic and over the top, and I celebrate it so vehemently to this day. And that kind of leads me to this, because one of the bands kind of from that era, they kind of came out at the end of it, and it's the all-female group Vixen. And I brought this up to you that I was going to ask you about it, but Vixen going through a singer change, and it's kind of blowing me away because I was very close with Lorraine Lewis. I thought she was just what the band needed, and
Yeah.
they'd played at Vakken, they'd been with big tours and big shows, and now they've parted ways. And this is not Lorraine. She did not do this. We're going to have her on in a couple weeks to talk about it. But what is your take? Who's going to be the next lead singer of Vixen, and is it going to be you?
Well, first of all, I also really liked Lorraine and Vixen, like, because I love Femme Fatale. And I
Yes.
might even say I like Femme Fatale better than Vixen. So, like, it was exciting that, you know, you would get to hear both band songs in the set list when Lorraine was singing. And I hope she's going to start Femme Fatale back up again now that, you know, she's not doing Vixen. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do because, like, from what I understand, it's not going to be the original singer either.
Right.
So it's like, well, who is it? Like,
yeah, it's like you don't fire Lorraine just for like a no name and a singer that's, you know, 28 years old that I don't know. That's what it kind of could be heading toward. Shez Kane. I don't know if you know her. Maybe it could be her.
I've heard of her, but that doesn't make sense to me because, like, I feel like, you know, she's more like a European thing, maybe. Like I feel like that's
True.
that type of music, and like I feel like Lorraine is so recognizable here, and most of their shows are stuff like, you know, the Monsters of Rock cruise or M3. So it's like, why would they want to not have, you know, that recognizable name? But maybe there was some clashes, or I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna hopefully find out when we get this scheduled with Lorraine coming up, and I'm very curious about it. I've kind of texted her back and forth, just hey, we're because I'm just an unabashed fan. Like you're right, Femme Fatale, the and it's funny because I heard of them because when I was a kid, I watched License to Drive with Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, and that song "Waiting for the Big One" is in
Yeah.
that movie. And I was like, I don't know who this is, but I love this, and I looked it up and I saw these pictures of Lorraine. She's just gorgeous, like a model, gorgeous,
She's like
in the 80s.
style
Oh.
icon. Like her looks in their music video are like I'm inspired. Like that's style I love. So yeah, that song is great. That's my favorite song of theirs.
Oh, the Vixen would play that live, and I hope the best for Vixen because I'm going to see him a couple times this summer on some of the festivals I'm going to be covering. So maybe we'll just have to wait and see on that. So you've been to a lot of shows already. Your summer concert series has already been going full swing. You saw one of my favorite bands back in the spring in Lillian Axe. You've seen Trickster recently. You've seen CKY. So how's the concert season so far been for you, and what else do you have coming up?
Yeah, those were all really good shows. The CKY was amazing because they're like all-time favorite band for me. Like,
That's awesome.
I've been a huge fan of theirs, and it had been a while since they played this area. So I first saw them in Manhattan, and then I was like, I gotta go again. Like, so I went to the New Jersey show. And yeah, Chad's like such a nice guy. Like he's really sweet. So it was good to see him and catch up with him. So that was the most recent shows. And then, yeah, the Trickster, that was really fun. That was, they were doing it plugged in, which I hadn't seen them do for a long time because PJ and Steve Brown were doing a lot of like acoustic Trickster shows.
Yeah.
And, I love their music. So, hearing it in any format is great, but, plugged in just takes it to the next level. Like it had been a long time since I had heard those songs in the way they're meant to be heard, I guess. So I had a lot of fun with that. But as far as like stuff coming up, there's nothing like set in stone. Just because like I'm interested in a lot of these big pavilion shows, but the prices are crazy. Like,
yeah, New Kids on the Block, for instance. Wait, did I say that out loud? Yeah, New Kids on the Block is expensive.
I didn't even know that was happening, but I would totally go see that. I like boy bands.
Like, that's one of my. If you had to name like a guilty pleasure band for me, like New Kids on the Block is number one.
No,
Cyndi Lauper is number two. I don't know.
Did you watch the New Kids on the Block cruise reality show?
Yes.
That was so funny. And I think Donnie Wahlberg is like a closet hair metal fan because he like dropped Britney Fox and Warrant, like talking about those bands and that. I'm like, he knows, like he's a real fan if he knows those two.
I love that. Those guys are all in such great shape in their mid 50s. They look wonderful. They sound great. I've seen them a couple times. I'm going to try to hit that here. I travel a lot, so I'm just like try to connect the dots. I know I got the Beach Boys coming up. I'm going to be on vacation in North Carolina. I'm going to hit the Beach Boys with John Stamos. Yes.
What?
With John Stamos. Yes. And the Outer Banks at Roanoke Island in Outer Banks, North Carolina. And then Lionel Richie next week in the next, about 8 or 9 days away. So that's how mine will start. But then we'll get into some of the ones that are more familiar to us. I've got, Rocklahoma coming up, which by the way, Rocklahoma, I've talked to you about that festival before. I've got to get you out sometime. We'll get you hooked up in the media tent. We'll do some interviews together. It's fun to do it, but man, the lineup, what it does do, the positive is it forces you to check into some bands you normally wouldn't and try to reach inside of you to find a like for some bands that you normally wouldn't give a chance to, even though the lineup used to be so 80s oriented and now it's so not. But we got Winger, we got Vixen, we got Faster Pussycat.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, that at least they're booking some of them still. Like, but it is funny how it did make such a like switch to like being that kind of like heavy metal thing, which I think isn't Avenged Sevenfold on that lineup. And
yes, and Slipknot and Hailstorm, those are, and Anthrax. There's Yeah, it's come a long way. I will say that the attendance has grown. This is out in the middle. You can't imagine. You're from New York, okay? You're from the New Jersey, New York City area. This is in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. I can't even begin to describe to you what the scene is like, but I need you to experience it once in your life.
It's like just out in the plains, like just super
Yes.
flat and
Yes, it is. Okay. So Oklahoma, which is always, tornado season is always there. There have been actually in 2008, I was watching Trickster on stage at
I saw
Oklahoma.
that video.
And
Yeah.
yes, somebody next to me said, God help me, the last band I'm ever going to see is Trickster. As
Hey,
the
I
tornado
wouldn't be
came in.
mad at that. I mean, I'm a big Trickster fan.
I
So
am too. Another band we both have in common is Danger Danger. Let's talk about
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Ted Poley and Rob Lane's been on the show. We're both big Defiance fans. We'll get to that. But like, you've got that cool Danger Danger shirt that your cat likes to sleep on.
Which
And
cat is actually sitting on my lap right now. I don't
I
think
was wondering.
yeah, I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up unless his tail gets in the shot. But yes, he always has to make himself known.
That's amazing. He's adorable. And I'm a cat person. This has changed for me over the last like 5 years. My parents didn't believe in pets. And maybe Ted Poley helped me because he's somebody that's all into shelters and helping animals. Have you seen Danger Danger, any iteration live? Ted Poley, otherwise?
Many times. Yeah, I can't even count how many times, but
Wow.
many times. Yeah.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer like Rob Lane in Danger Danger? Do you like Ted Poley?
Paul Lane.
I love Paul.
Yeah. So I prefer Paul Lane just because I don't think Ted's a very nice person. He's actually kind of mean. So
Do you have a story?
I mean, I have stories. I know people that have lots of stories. Like he's made threats to people I know, like physical violence. Yeah, he's really like not what he portrays himself to be. Because I watched that interview that he did with you. He knows how to come across as like this nice guy, but he's not. So, but I mean, my thing is it's like he sang on like some of my most favorite songs ever, but he didn't write them. So him not being a nice person doesn't affect my enjoyment of the band.
That's really sweet that you say that, because we have to really take that with a grain of salt with a lot of bands, as because of social media, like you said, more opinions are out there, more things that people have done are out there. And so we just have to take that and leave the music where it is.
Yeah, it's funny though, because it's like it came out of nowhere, like because he's good at hiding the kind of bad side, but it's been coming out more and more. Like there's people that are telling me stories. I was just talking to one of my friends like 2 weeks ago that was saying that he witnessed Ted making threats and causing destruction. And
what are we doing here, Ted?
Yeah,
he did swindle me out of money to do that interview that you're talking about. I will
really?
say that.
What he made you pay him?
Yeah, and that's not something I do, and I did do it because I really wanted to, and so yeah, that
I believe it.
So there you go. It's adding up now. You might be right, and like I was telling Paul Lane, who was on here last summer, the version he did on the '95 live album with Danger Danger in London, I think, of "Don't Walk Away" is my favorite. Is in my top 5 favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, no, everybody else in the band is so great and nice. So like never let what I'm saying about Ted affect anything. You know, to me, he was a hired gun. Like he sang and that's it. But Paul is really nice, and I really like both his albums with Danger Danger a lot. There's so many good songs on there that, you know, a lot of people aren't as familiar with, but like I think if they gave it a chance, they would really like it. And then, of course, the Defiance is awesome for some newer stuff. So I'm still on the hunt for the ever elusive Paul Lane, you know, his solo album. Like, it's hard to find, and even on the internet.
Yes, we need to get a hold of him on that. You're right. And we talked about that. And I love that. The Defiance album Drive to me was my album of the year in 2023. I think it is melodic rock gold. I think it is like the ultimate summer album, and I will play it for the rest of my life every summer. And I'm a summer person, so it's like it
Yeah,
all came together for me.
it's great. Yeah, did you get the vinyl version too?
Yes, I
That
have it.
more recently. Yeah, that was cool. I was glad they did that. Like I really like that Frontiers Records will do that. Like they'll make cool special edition vinyls for us.
Yes, and Frontiers does a great job. I'm a big fan of theirs. So, Sarah, what was your first concert ever?
So because you said you're gonna potentially ask that, so I was like, I gotta like remember what it was, and so I had to look up the dates so that I knew I was getting the right one. And it's not the most exciting, but for like someone my age, it was exciting. So it was the Spice Girls.
I've heard that before. There's a lot of people that's first concert was the Spice Girls. No judgment here.
Yeah, and I think then like the first rock concert was the band Everclear, which like I wasn't even a fan. I just went because my family was going, but I still had a good time. And I mean, they've got good songs, but it's not really my style of music. But that was kind of the first like more like rock and roll show.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that because I'll tell you this. For me, I was in high school, early high school, when the first Poison Summer Tour hit with Rat and LA Guns and Great White. And that
Oh,
was like the first time I ever experienced that. Like the 80's had been kind of cast aside for so long. There wasn't a lot of bands touring. There wasn't a lot going on. And I went to that as a 14-year-old, the first time I was at, seeing these bands ever. And so it lit something in me that like never died. And I saw Poison like every summer when they toured and did those packages, and to this day. And it's like, so I really have to credit Poison for a lot of this.
yeah.
And I went back and I know so many more obscure bands and heavier bands and all that, but Poison, there's something about that style, those bands, and that goes for Rat, that goes for LA Guns, Faster Pussycat, White Lion, all those. It's like, I don't know, it's such a time period thing, but it just, like you said, it's fun, it's upbeat, and when you hear that music, it just puts you in a certain mood in a certain place. I'm assuming that's the case for you as well.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought up Rat because I feel like that was probably like the first like hair glam metal band that I really liked a lot. Like I got the Out of the Cellar CD from Walmart of all places. And I just love like their whole look, like the way they dressed, the music videos, and then the music itself just has like a really specific sound to it that is like their own, like I feel like Rat sounds pretty different from the other bands from that time. So like they're one of my like OG favorites. I wish
100%.
that they still were like together, but it's you just I guess can only see it as Stephen Piercy now.
Steven wishes it was together as well, believe me, and he said that publicly.
Okay, that's good to know because yeah, I wasn't sure like there's always it's so hard to keep up with all the dramas with these bands. So.
Yes, it is. That's another thing, right? Is like you have these bands that are veteran enough and they've been around long enough, and there's gonna it's almost like you got to just take the good with the bad and know that it's going to be there and it's going to happen. Like I'm a huge Kiss fan, and I just like it 20 years ago just said I don't care. Like I'm just going to be a fan, and whatever happens happens, as long as they don't do something, commit a crime or something, I'm just going to cheer for it. And that's going to be that. So do you get into a lot of that stuff? Do you like, it seems like you're just even keeled and like, you just kind of take it with what it is with these bands, and you don't like take it too seriously, and you don't lash out. You're not calling them out. You know what I mean? Like you're pretty cool with it all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to say something when you brought up Ted, like I just had to, but generally like, right, I'm not involved in any of the drama.
Right.
Like it's so much to keep up with. Like so many of these bands, like they're fighting all the time, or there's like mudslinging happening, and I'm just like, I can't even keep track of this. Like it's too much drama. Yes. Like there's enough of chaos in regular life that I can't invite more.
Yeah. And, doing this show for 12 years, I've had no dramatic situations except for one guest, and it was Brent Woods, from Wildside and Sebastian Bach's guitarist. That was the weirdest thing I've ever encountered. Like he's texting and calling me and like threats and weird stuff. And I was like, it was the most standard interview. I'm very professional, and I don't cause any drama at all. So like, I don't know what his issue was exactly, but that was the only time.
That's so weird. Yeah, I've never met him. I don't really know much about him, but like of all people, like what? Like
Yeah, exactly.
acting like a diva or whatever. That's
It was,
lame. I
he
mean,
was like,
I'm team Skid Row versus Sebastian Bach too, because again,
yeah,
I like to go with the guys that wrote the music, and with Skid Row, it's Snake and Rachel.
right.
They wrote it, so that's who I choose to support with that beef.
And I love Lizzie Hale. I wish we could just make Lizzie Hale a permanent member. I'm in. She's great.
Yeah, I saw some clips of that. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I was like kind of skeptical about it just because, like, to me, she's like a different kind of rocker, but I thought she did a really good job, and she did the songs justice. So, I mean, if they wanted to have her do more shows, if they came out this way, I would go see it for sure.
Yeah. Well, what talk about some rockers that you've met, that you've had good experiences with, that you've been to shows or seen them or hung out. Like, what is that something that is important to you to be able to do that? Do you kind of wait afterwards? Do you hit up somebody in the band? Like, what's your mode for getting to meet some of these guys?
Yeah, it's funny because like I've been really lucky, and like I don't like pay to meet people.
Right.
I'm not like stalking them. Like, like it's sometimes they just come to me. I don't know. So yeah, I mean it's just happened a lot. I mean, a lot of these guys are really approachable, cool dudes. Like they'll just hang out after the show or whatever, or come up and say hi. So that's like a really good way to meet people. And sometimes I just find myself in crazy situations where it just happens and I'm not expecting to meet somebody, and then I do, and I'm like, whoa, like okay.
Do you find this is a little deeper than my normal questions, but do you, as a female fan that's young, is it hard for you to kind of differentiate? Are people like trying to, flirt with you? I mean, is that something that happens a lot? I know you like rockers have got to be in your DMs.
Okay, no, but no, I mean, I'd say like I think most of the time, like they're just happy to see someone. I don't know. I mean, like there's been very rarely, somebody's acted creepy or weird that was very much unwanted attention. It's like, I'm just your fan, like calm down. But but then other times, like it's flattering or it's nice. So I mean, but a lot of people, they're just happy to talk to the fans that came out to the show.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I think it's great that we can connect in that way. And I love seeing your clips. We always kind of comment back and forth. And how was this show? What did you see out of this? And I kind of let you know, what guests are coming up on the show. And you always have a keen interest sometimes in that. And I really enjoy that. I really think it's great that that this music is so vast, and there's so many different, ages and, young people. I see younger, people in their 20s and teens that are now seeing these bands. And I think that's wonderful. We got to be there for the bands that are still out there, for the Warrants and the Wingers, bands that are still out there touring and making it. Like we got to be there for them. And because they're just dropping like flies. I mean, I went to Kiss's last show. Sarah, I was at Twisted Sister's last show in America in 2016. I was at AC/DC's last show for many years in 2016. And you never know when it's all going to be over. Like, who are we going to see in 15 years?
Yeah, no, it's important to support people while they're still up for playing, and sometimes people come back. Like, I mean, I was surprised Motley Crue came back. I'm personally not really interested in seeing that, but I mean,
why is that?
I just don't think they sound good. Like, I think they sound really bad live. I saw them on their final tour, and that was their final tour, I should say. And I remember actually the first show I saw on that tour, they did sound good, but then the last one, it was just really bad. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just stick to listening to the records and watching the old music videos.
That is absolutely.
From what I've heard, it's like gotten so much worse, because like I've seen clips where Vince Neil's lip syncing. He's got the microphone over here, but the vocals are still pumping out, and like yeah, it just, I don't know. It's a circus, and I mean, I thought it was cool though that they did that little like underground show in Manhattan a couple weeks ago.
Yes, at the Bowery Ballroom. Yeah.
That was really cool of them to do that. But again, like I was kind of like, it was funny because I was actually in that part of the city when it was happening.
Ooh.
I was like, okay, well, hope everybody has fun, but
Yeah, it was probably hard to get. I don't even know how you could get in. There's probably
well,
seats
so
only
what was
400 people.
crazy was there's several people like that I'm mutuals with on Instagram or whatever. Like I always like to, connect with fellow like rockers, and especially if they're like around my age, because we're a rare breed. But so one like girl that I know on Instagram, she like, I think she just showed up, like she just waited outside and then they wound up letting her in. Like,
Wow.
yeah, so
That's
like,
like so 80s. That's something that would happen at the Whiskey A Go Go in 1987, and you'd have this lasting story. And so that's really neat. Have you
yeah,
ever been to LA, like to the Sunset Strip? Have you ever been to the Whiskey? And
yeah, I have. My sister used to live in LA, so I went there several times in like kind of the like 2010s, like early 2010s. So yeah, we went to the Whiskey to see a couple shows. It's little, it's a really small venue.
yeah,
And then the Rainbow, of course, which I really liked the food there. They have a good chicken piccata.
right. Glad you mentioned that. That's huge. That's still to this day. Their owner passed away. Original owner had passed away a couple years ago, and they've kept that going. I haven't been in a while. I've seen LA Guns there. I need to get out there. There was, gosh, who was it recently? It was Babylon AD played a
Oh,
show there recently, and I just had Derek on. I'm such a Babylon AD fan, and that's
yeah.
just it. Like, are you a fan of like some of the bands that came out? Kind of, I always say the bands that came out too late, not by any fault of their own. Babylon AD, Wild Side, like a Firehouse would almost fit into that category.
Yeah. That Firehouse, I love Firehouse. I mean, that's somebody I unfortunately I never got to like officially meet him in person,
Right?
Snare, but we did talk a lot online, and he was
Wow.
really nice. So that was like so sad when that happened, and a huge loss to like live music in general, because they're one of the best sounding
Yes.
bands of that genre. They were always so solid live. But no, I actually would say my favorites, because again, like Danger is like late 80s, early
Right.
90s, Trickster,
Yep.
and no, I like Babylon AD a lot too. Like a lot of the ones that I really enjoy are more of the later.
Yeah. Yeah, because like it's crazy to think about the time between like Quiet Riot and 80, 82, 83 coming out with Motley Crue and then Rat, and then building from there to see where that went. I got to ask you this. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. I've never seen you post about it. Are you a Wasp fan?
Casual ish. I don't like, I like a couple of their songs a lot. Like I think Ball Crusher is a good song.
Wow, of all songs, that's funny. I love that. Would you
Yeah,
see him on this tour? Would you see him live? They're going to be doing this
so
big tour.
that's another one of those bands where it's like, if the ticket price is right, I'll go. But I remember the last time they came out this way, they were playing places where it's general admission tickets, so there's only really one price. But after like Ticketmaster fees, it was coming up to like almost $70, and I'm like, well, damn, like, like I was like, there's a couple songs that would be cool to see, and obviously like the stage show, but yeah, they're one of those ones that they have a really dedicated fan base, and a lot of my friends are like hardcore, like they love Wasp, like
Yeah.
they're talking about this new tour coming up, they're so excited. I'm just kind of like, like, it was maybe a little bit too like too intense, I don't know, but I at the same time, there's some intense bands I like a lot, so it just didn't connect with me, I
Yeah,
guess.
like what's the heaviest band that you like listen to regularly?
I haven't like listened to them super regularly, but I mean, I'm a big Slayer fan. I like
Well, there
Slayer.
you go.
So
Yeah.
I mean Metallica, of course. I like a lot of like that thrash 80s,
It's
those
like
bands.
Megadeth, Anthrax would you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And you
And
went to that Metallica tour last summer.
Slipknot's cool.
Oh yeah, they'll be at Rocklahoma. Slipknot's there, and you saw that Metallica tour last summer with
Yeah.
Pantera opening, and
I actually went the other day. I went the day with Five Finger Death Punch, who I do like a lot too, and Ice Nine Kills. So
that's right.
I did not see Pantera, but it would have been cool to see like Walk and 5 Minutes Alone.
Yes, that and because I remember I was talking to you. That tour came to St. Louis, which I'm in Kansas City. It's 4 hours away, and I didn't get to go because I do a lot of it, college football, NFL, sports coverage. I had to go cover this Mizzou football game in Georgia, and I missed that Metallica tour. So
Oh, well, I
I
think
am,
they're playing more dates this summer, but I don't know if they'll be out your way. Because
yeah, like West Coast. I think a lot of it.
yeah, I think that the only one near me is like in Boston, maybe, but I don't think I'll be going to that. But it was really good. Metallica's amazing live. That's another band I've seen many times, and they always are. They never disappoint.
Yeah, no question. Especially that set list they had kind of revolving. I actually saw
Always
the
do
four.
that. Yeah, I love that. They throw in deep cuts. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
they've got to be the most fan friendly as far as just diversity of songs to play. Now, sometimes I saw some of them, some of the nights, like where you'd be like, okay, you just got kind of a perfect storm of like not my favorite songs kind of all in a row, like kind of like, oh, wow, like 4 songs off Reload. And then it's like,
Yeah,
okay, so you kind of
that
miss
even
me.
happened at my show because I love Metallica, again, one of my favorite bands, but the song "The Memory Remains," I hate it. So I was like, why did I have to have that be on my night? Like, if they were gonna do a Load era song, like I would have wanted like "Until It Sleeps" or
Yes.
like
Bleeding
I don't.
Me.
Which one?
Bleeding Me. You can't go
That'd be
wrong.
better, yeah. But the "Memory Remains" is, I really don't like that song. I don't really
Yeah.
like Reload album as a whole. I mean, they're kind of a pair, Load and Reload. And I'd say Load is the one that at least has a couple like really good songs on it. And they could have kept Reload, in my opinion.
Yeah. I do agree with that. And that's sort of like where it started to break off for me because then it was like Napster thing kind of happened. I wasn't really like mad or judgmental, but it just something about that time period like kind of fragmented them off, and then Saint Anger happened, and it was just like there was some rough
I think
times. They've released 2 great albums. The last 2 have been great. So
yeah,
what
no,
do I know?
those are really solid. I think they did throw in a couple Saint Anger songs on the tour
Yes.
last year. I did not get one at my show, thank God.
Woo.
But
I love your honesty. I love that, and I just appreciate you and kind of what you do, because you may not realize it, but for a lot of people that you encounter, you might influence a younger generation of girls or people that are younger even than you that see this and see you at these shows, and it's really great because to me this music is so meaningful that I knew I was not cut out for a real job. I think I've told you this, like I knew it. And I was like, I don't know, but I want to be around the things that I like. I love sports. I love 80s hair metal. I love like 80s wrestling. So like, I'm just going to do that stuff. I don't know how it happened, but I found my way into it somehow. And like, so do you have like, would you ever want to do a podcast, do a show? You have what it takes. You've got the chops, you got the knowledge. What could we expect from that?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like I think you said earlier, like I am kind of a low key, like under the radar, like type person, and I am pretty like private too. So like I feel like if you do stuff like that, you do kind of invite like people into your personal bubble in a weird way. But at the same time, like it is fun to just talk and like you said, share the knowledge. I mean, I always like, as far as like helping other fans or being like I want to be friends with everybody in this scene, like
Yeah.
there's people that like they kind of it's funny because I've been in the 80s glam rock scene, I guess, for a very long time at this point. And so you sometimes see girls that like they don't want to be friends with the other girls because they don't like that they're not like the only like younger rock girl or whatever. And it's like, I never understood that. Like, I'm like, the more the merrier. Like, I want more friends to come with me to concerts or to talk about this with. So I'm always like an open, like I'm open to being friends with everybody.
That is just wonderful. I appreciate your spirit and your attitude. And you've been so generous with your time. I can't thank you enough. We'll have to do this again. And if you ever want to hop on and do an interview on one of our shows, I'd be glad to have you as a co-host because you do a great job. But I got to hit you with our final four drum roll, 4 quick questions. You give us whatever comes to mind. We'll have some fun with it here. Okay. What's one band you've never seen live that you either can't, because they're gone, or that you still have a chance to see and maybe someday you will?
Oh man. Oh, I gotta think about this. I mean, like I'm looking at my wall. You can't see it because it's this way. But I have my the Babies record framed from the 70s rock. The Babies, if I could go back in time and see them.
Wow.
And then also of that same era, well, no, I have seen them. Never mind, I can't say that. So yeah, I'll say the Babies.
I didn't see that answer coming, and that's a great one.
Oh, actually, too, I just thought of another good one. Survivor with Jimmy Jamison. You can't see that because he is no longer with us, but they're one of my favorite top 5 bands, Survivor. So
I love it, and I'm very close with Robin McCauley, who was obviously not the original singer of Survivor, but has toured with them. And Robin's a great guy and a great singer. Your favorite? Who's your question 2? Your favorite guitarist of the era, at least of the 80s era?
oh man, I mean, I really like Warren DeMartini from Rat.
Great one.
Awesome.
I'm a big Michael Schenker guy too. I love Michael Schenker.
Let me think a little bit more about this because I feel like I'm like maybe missing somebody. I mean, I really like Jeff LaBar because of the guitar spin.
Yes, and we can't leave out our good friend Steve Brown. Steve, if you're watching, who's coming on soon, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Because I was telling you, I've got that Stadium Rock 80's in Louisville in early August. If you ever want to come to Louisville, Kentucky, Sarah, come on out and we'll make it happen for you. It's a very good lineup. It's like the anti-Rocklahoma.
Saw that posted somewhere. It was a good lineup, right? Like it was all like the glam bands.
Yeah, see, it's like for us, tailor-made for us, which is rare these days. Okay, question 3. What is the first, CD that you remember like buying with your own money?
That's so yeah. Because I thought maybe you would ask something like this, so I had to like remember. It was A Fever You Can't Sweat Out by Panic at the Disco, and I bought it at Hollister, the clothing store, because they used to sell CDs there. Like they'd have like a curated.
That's right.
CD thing, and that album, I like as a 8th grade, like I was like, this is so cool. Like I still have it. I still like it. Like it's funny because it's like if one of those songs comes up on shuffle or whatever, I still remember all the lyrics because of how much I listened to it back when it first came out.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think that the like Hollister or whatever clothing stores are like considered the cool stores for teenagers now. They got to do that again. Like that was like a really good marketing tactic. Like it was like you always knew a band was cool if they had their CD at Hollister.
that you have like triggered a memory that I didn't even remember that I had, and now that you're saying it, like I can almost like smell the room of what that like the cologne that they would have or perfume they always had. And then you would see it up at the counter, you'd see the CDs, and it'd always be like those kind of bands. Or like, what was another one? Oh gosh, Screaming Infidelity is the band that sings that. Oh God, it's not Modest Mouse. That's gonna kill me.
That sounds like the type of band that they would have had there. I know they had like Fall Out Boy, like.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like I could just picture the scene right now, and that is awesome. Okay, so you can meet one rocker, you can have dinner with them at the Rainbow, just you and this person, live or dead. Who are you meeting and why?
Oh wow. I think I gotta go with like one of the ones that started it all and do Elvis.
That I, there is no better answer. Because
Don't you
like
think, like, who else would you want to eat a lot of food with? Like Elvis. He'd
Elvis
have, like,
is,
sandwich with all the bacon and
and like yeah, like it's a big connection for me. My dad's like the biggest Elvis fan in the world, and he yeah, I like made him watch that new Elvis movie and everything, and just to
yeah,
think
that was
about that. And like Elvis is, without that stuff, without, well, it's, we go way deeper into like a lot of the blues stuff and some of the stuff the African American artists were doing before Elvis, but like that, without that, like there just is no evolution of rock and roll without
yeah.
it. That's really heavy and like to think about. So yeah, Elvis, good answer. Well, Sarah, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this. Would love to do it again sometime. You're awesome for because you've said this kind of out of your comfort zone a little bit to do something like this. Do you feel like now you could do it? Now you've done it and you're ready
No,
to roll?
definitely. I was like, I was nervous I'd, like, I don't know, choke up or something, but no, I feel very comfortable. So I this was a lot of fun, and I hope that anybody watching enjoys it and gets some entertainment out of it.
Yes. Oh, that is our goal here on the Road to Rock, is we're going to keep it rolling all summer long. Sarah, it's my goal. We're going to have to hit a show up together at some point. We're just gonna have to work on it. I like suck at like directions and big city traffic. So like where you live is it's a struggle for me. I've been to New York City, but like, I
It's a
don't
lot,
know.
yeah.
Can you meet me in the suburbs or something?
I'm not originally from here. I'm from Maryland, so it was even a lot for me when I moved up here. I was like, this is next level, but now I'm used to it. So
Well, awesome. I hope you have a great summer of rock and continue it on. You do. It's so great to see you out there and doing what you do. So thank you so much, and we'll catch up again soon. Take it easy and have a great summer on the Road to Rock, Sarah.
yeah, you too. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. We'll talk soon.